Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the most common symptoms that PMDD sufferers have, and that is thinking that their partner is not compatible. They're not compatible with their partner. Maybe they should be single. They're not seeing eye to eye. So maybe they're just with the wrong person. Maybe they're just not with the right PMDD partner. And the reason why I want to talk to you about this is because over my years of counseling hundreds of PMDD partners and PMDD sufferers, I don't think you know how common this is and how much of a symptom it is to literally feel like your partner and you are not compatible, meaning it's not a good match. So when you're in your follicular days, when you're in your good days, you may have no question in your mind that this is the person for you. You should absolutely be with them. But then all of a sudden you get into PMDD and there's all these doubts. And what comes with doubts? Fears of maybe I'm with the wrong person. Maybe I'm spending my life wasting my time with this person that's just never going to get it. They're never going to understand PMDD. They're never going to understand me. They're never going to understand anything I'm going through, everything that I keep telling them every single month that they need to do to be a supportive PMDD partner. They're not doing, they're not getting it. And you start to feel stuck. And then in comes the PMDD monthly breakups because you begin to think, well, if I'm not compatible with this person, maybe I should just let them go, or maybe they should be with someone who doesn't have PMDD. Maybe, even on the upside, you can say, maybe this is a good person, but they're just not a good person for me. And so you go into this realm of questioning everything when you are in PMDD. And I remember being there so often where I would see the inconsistencies. I would see where me and my exes were not on the same page. And PMDD allowed me to use that as ammunition to say, so yeah, because of that, we should just break up. And it was so convincing. It was so real. And the reason why I say it's so convincing is because it uses actual facts, actual characteristics about your partner, actual circumstances that have happened, actual ways that they trigger you. So the way PMDD works is it takes the facts of what's going on and it distorts it in your mind cognitively. So this is why I always say PMDD is tricking you. It's because it's not taking lies. If PMDD was telling you lies, you would be able to be like, oh, no, that's not true. But when PMDD uses actual characteristics about your partner, or actual things that they've said, actual things that they've done, and they replay them in their mind like this big movie, it's very convincing. And you can literally throw away a good PMDD partner because you're so focused on the way that they trigger you. You're so focused on the PMDD fights that you've had. And you start to think, oh, there's too much water under the bridge. There's been too much damage, too much trauma. There's no way that we can repair this. And so you literally think that the only solution that you have is to break up. But what I want to really allow you to recognize is, number one, you're not alone. And it's always so shocking because when I get on these private sessions with my private clients, they're like, I thought I was the only one that were having these thoughts about, me and my PMDD partner not being compatible. The thing I said to all of my private clients when I get on private sessions with them is, this is how I know it's a symptom, because every single PMDD sufferer is saying the same thing. There's a reason why you resonate with what I'm telling you. And it's because it's in our PMDD brain. We all have the same PMDD brain. And you do feel it is a lonely journey, because if you're only talking to your friends or even your family, like, they're not understanding PMDD. They're thinking of it from like an outside perspective, where they're like, oh yeah, like maybe you're not compatible, or maybe you shouldn't be with them, or maybe they don't understand that when you get into your follicular days, that same light bulb that went off that was like, I should not be with this person, we're not compatible, that switch is going to switch, and it's going to go to the other side. And you're going to all of a sudden remember all of the reasons that you're with your PMDD partner. I went through this every single month. And when I tell you, I even had this increased level of gratitude towards my PMDD partner, because I was literally like, wow, they're so generous. And wow, they're so this, like, I immediately saw the positive. And I saw the positive qualities, and I was actually so grateful, and I acted, as such. And I remember having conversations with my ex, and they were just like, that was very weird for you to go from nagging me about things that I'm not doing, telling me how I'm not being supportive, telling me that I need to do more, into, I'm just so grateful that you're here. I'm just so grateful that I have you. And I remember one month I even text my ex when we were together, and I was just like, woo, like, we made it through another month. Like, thank goodness we made it, because the distortion was so heavy on me. I was questioning it so much. I was so hyper vigilant. And when you're in that realm of questioning your reality, questioning the reality with your partner, I do want to let you know that there's nothing that they can actually say in that moment that's going to make you feel like what you're thinking in your brain is not true, outside of, it's very strategic words that they can say that can rewire your PMDD brain. So I have been working on something, and it is almost done. So I'm going to release it on my birthday month. My birthday month is November. My birthday's November 29th. Um, but it's something specifically for partners. One of the biggest things that I've been able to do with my private clients is give them mantras and give them scripts. Meaning, when your partner is suffering with something in PMDD, I give you the exact words to say so that it doesn't turn into a PMDD fight, a PMDD argument that turns into PMDD rage, that turns into the PMDD monthly breakups. And I package this all in a course, and the course is going to be released at the beginning of November. But I just want to let you know that just because you feeling like your partner is not compatible doesn't mean that you're not compatible. And there's a reason why you're really thinking that. And it's because during the luteal phase, your emotions are heightened and your perception of your partner is blurred. You're seeing your partner through the lens of PMDD. And what do I always tell you? PMDD does not want you to be with your partner. PMDD is not your friend. It's not someone that's like in your ear, that's like has your best interest. I need you to start thinking of it as an outside entity. And it's literally telling you things that are going to cause you to break up. Like, just believe in your mind that what PMDD is telling you, the end result, the end goal for PMDD is for you to break up. And I know that so many of you come on, and you're, even on private sessions, and you're saying, oh, well, maybe this is, just the truth of what I needed to hear. Maybe this is just the truth. And maybe when I'm in my follicular days, I'm in my good days, maybe I'm just covering up all of these things that I really need to be paying attention to. So again, you're falling into the trap of PMDD, because that's what PMDD wants you to think. It wants you to think that they're telling you the truth, and what you're believing in your follicular phase is a lie, when it's really the opposite. Because when it comes down to it, and I really thought about this one day, and it really grounded me. I was like, why would I be with the person who was this incompatible? Like, we had to get to a point where we agreed to be in a relationship together. Therefore, we were compatible. Like, if you go to the beginning, how did you get with this person? How did you become in a relationship with this person? Would you really have committed your life, spent your time with this person if this was not the person for you. Like I feel like you're discrediting your judgment that you made in order for this to even be your partner, in order for this to even be the person that you're dating. Like you have the cognitive ability to choose whoever you want. And when we get out of that scarcity mindset and really recognize that there are 8 billion people on this planet, in this world, that you could be tied to. And out of the 8 billion, you chose your partner. And now you're going into PMDD and you're suffering because you're being triggered and you're thinking, oh, I'm with the wrong person. How did you choose the wrong person out of 8 billion? Because I'm pretty sure that you had some requirements. I'm pretty sure that you had some standards. I'm pretty sure that you had some boundaries, and they made it through all of that to become your partner. So I don't think that you're giving yourself enough credit when it comes to just thinking, oh, this is the wrong person for me. No, 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 no. If this was the wrong person for you, then you probably would have never been with them. Like, really think about that. There's a reason that you're with the person that you're with. There's something that you saw in them that you didn't see in anyone else that caused you to pump the brakes and say, wait a minute, I want this one. And I want you to go back to that thing. If you're listening to me right now, pull out your phone. This is what I had to do with my ex. I had to literally remind myself of the reasons why I wanted to be with him in those moments where I was having this cognitive distortion of really feeling like we weren't compatible. And I literally had to list out all of the reasons why, not just the positive qualities about them. I don't want you to be very general because all of my mantras are very specific for PMDD. I want you to, because PMDD will challenge you. If I tell you to do something basic, then PMDD is going to challenge you and then you're going to be frustrated because it's not going to work. The tools that I give you are specifically designed for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's not designed for actually anything else. Um, and I have, clients that have trauma and PTSD and ADHD and other things, and I customize those tools. But everything I tell you here is specifically designed for PMDD. And the first thing that I want you to really write down, whether it's physically on pen and paper, which is what I prefer, because cognitively, when you write something, it's more imprinted into your brain than if you just type it. So over the years, I have like an online journal that I use and I like to like do that, but I've literally brought back my old school journals and I have a billion of them and none of them are completed because I'm pretty sure there's some ADHD going on there where I start a journal, I write halfway in it and then I go to another journal. But anyway, there's power in writing it down and I've started something that one of my mentors told me, which is called morning pages, where I'm just writing down my thoughts in the morning and it's not specifically designed for any journal prompts or anything, just like whatever's on my PMDD brain that day. But what I want you to really write down is what are the reasons that you originally decided to be with your PMDD partner? Not, and I don't want you to focus on the things that they did. I want you to focus on the core of who they are. Because if you focus on the things they did, if they stop doing them, you're going to be like, that's why we're not compatible. I want you to write down some qualities that they have that you couldn't find in somebody else. Because what I've learned in this dating realm is, people can be a dime a dozen. Like you have to stand out. There has to be something about you. I remember being in a scarcity mindset with the last person I was dating. I'm like, I love that they take me on dates. And in my mind, I was like, if I don't stay with them, then I'm never going to go out on any fancy dates again. It's like, no, I can go on many fancy dates with many other people because when you're dating, the world is your oyster. I don't know why people have this negative perception of dating. Maybe it's that you're continuously disappointed by, what you invested your time in. That's all I can think of. But it's such a discovery process. And you really find out what makes you compatible with a person. And remember, I told you with my ex, I chose him in my follicular phase, in my good days, and we were very much compatible in the follicular phase. But when I was in my luteal phase, we were not compatible. And so that's something that you really have to think about. So when you're saying this, I want you to ask yourself, are you saying that you're not compatible as a whole? Or are you saying that you're not compatible in the luteal phase? Because not being compatible in the luteal phase is not a deal breaker. It doesn't mean that you have to throw the whole partner away, but it does mean you have some work to do. And that's why I created the program that's coming out in November. It's specifically for partners because I've had so many partners come to me and they're just like, Dr. Rose, I'm willing to do what it takes. I just want you to just let me know what to do and I'll do it. And this program is going to let you know what to do. And it's going to take all of the guesswork out of it. And it's going to make it so much better for the partner that is suffering with PMDD. And it's going to make it better for you. But let's go over some of the ways that PMDD convinces you, because PMDD is convincing you that you're not compatible with your partner. And so the first one is exaggerating small fights that you're having with your partner. So PMDD can make minor disagreements or misunderstandings feel like big monumental issues. It can make you dig and dig and dig and dig and dig into something that is very small. So small irritations or disagreements that would normally be resolved easily can seem like signs that you and your partner are not compatible, which is going to lead to those doubts in the relationship. It's meaning every time you get in a disagreement, every time you have like a little bit of a misunderstanding, PMDD is literally saying to you, see, I told you, this is why you're not compatible. It's almost like it's searching for the proof. And then whenever a situation happens, it's confirming it. This is why you're not compatible. This is why you should be with someone else. This never would have happened if you were with someone else. This never would have happened if you were single. It's not always even about being with someone else. Sometimes it's literally about you could possibly be single. So the next thing that PMDD does is this amplifies your emotional reaction to these little fights and disagreements and misunderstandings. So during PMDD, your emotional response to things that your partner says and does is more intense. I want you to recognize that first and foremost. That is not something that is, only with some. No, the emotional reactions that you have to your partner during PMDD are more intense. And I want you to really recognize that that's a thing. Because the sooner that you're self-aware enough to recognize that I'm in PMDD, my emotional response is heightened. It's more. I'm on 10. Like you have to take full accountability because if you were in your follicular days, your partner could do the exact same thing, but you wouldn't react to them the same way. You would absolutely recognize it. Like it's not blinding. It's not toxic positivity where you're like, oh, I don't think that they do anything wrong. No, you see the things that they do wrong. It just doesn't feel like so much of an offense, like they're doing something to you, like they're rejecting you, like they're, making you feel bad, like they're hurting your feelings. So during PMDD, simple actions or words from your partner is going to trigger those feelings of anger, of rage, of sadness, of rejection. And that's going to lead into convincing you that you're incompatible because you're going to say, well, I can't handle my partner's emotions or I can't handle my partner's behaviors. They're just doing too much. They're too much for me. They say too many hurtful things to me. So I can't deal with this anymore. So this is why we should break up because the things that they're doing to trigger me are so overwhelming and I don't know what to do with them. So that goes into the next thing, which is distorted thinking. This is this black and white thinking. So PMDD is really good at this. It's really good at the black and white thinking where everything feels all good during the follicular phase and all bad during the luteal phase. So if things aren't exactly perfect, if your partner isn't exactly saying the things that you want them to say, doing the things that you want them to do, then you're going to start to feel like your relationship is doomed, like we're never going to make it. So this cognitive distortion can make you believe that any simple imperfection that your partner has means you're not compatible. Anytime you're not seeing things on the same page and you're not seeing eye to eye, you're like, oh, we don't agree on this. We're not compatible. We should just not be together. Like if there's any kind of frustration where you're trying to get on the same page and you're trying to talk to them about something and you feel like they're just not getting it, PMDD is going to use that as proof. And so it's going to put you like where your back is against the wall because it's going to be saying, well, they don't understand this. Like, what do you want to do? Like, if they don't understand it, they're never going to understand it. There's this catastrophizing where you're believing that if they don't understand one thing, they're not going to understand anything. So the next thing is the increased sensitivity to criticism. This was a very big one for me. And the reason why is because when I was in my past PMDD relationships, and this is just a quality that I have, I seek to please my partners that I'm with. And so when they say something that is perceived as criticism, meaning if I make them dinner or lunch or breakfast and they mention, oh, my eggs are like this, or I wish I had more of this, or but I immediately think that they're criticizing me, like I'm not good enough, like I didn't do a good job, like they're not appreciative. And it really hurts my feelings because when I'm in PMDD, it heightens my sensitivity to criticism or even any feedback. It's almost like this is where the partners go into walking on eggshells because they feel like they can't say anything because everything they say is going to be cognitively distorted into a criticism. And what happens with criticism is there's defensiveness. So your partner says something to criticize something that you're doing, you get defensive, they start criticizing you, and it goes in the cycle of criticism, defensiveness. One of you might start stonewalling, which is shutting down. One of you might go off on PMDD rage. Like it's a cycle. So when criticism comes in, even well-meaning or minor comments can feel like a personal attack. And when you're in PMDD, you are absolutely looking for reasons to break up. So it's leading you into believing that your partner is constantly judging you and they don't really understand you and they don't accept you. And so who wants to be with somebody that judges them and that doesn't understand and doesn't accept them? That's what PMDD is making you feel like the situation that you're in. And you're just like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel good, Dr. Rose. And so when I'm talking to you, I really have to ground you in a sense of, is this what you're really thinking, or is this PMDD? Because if they said the same comments in your follicular phase, would you really react the same way? And it takes a lot of humbleness because for me, I was very much in the place of no, like if they said it in my folliculars, I would still be upset. Like I was still on the bandwagon of sticking with it and saying any time of the month they said this to me and I would be offended. But I knew that that was a lie because there would be no way that I could have been with my ex. Um, and they had done that for so long, and I just accepted it. Like I got the break of the follicular phase where they were doing the same things, and I just kind of brushed it off. I brushed it off in a sense of not even like bitterly brushed it off. It just didn't bother me. Like I recognized it, and I was like, like I think what I did was make excuses for them, and those excuses helped me accept their behavior. So in turn, I didn't get offended because I didn't feel criticized because I'm like, oh, they're tired. Like, how many times have you done that with a child where your child is being snappy, your child is being cranky, your child is being, like they're just doing something that you asked them not to do, and you know that they're tired, you know that they're hungry, you know they had a long day, you know that there are other factors in play. And so you make an excuse for them. And when you make that excuse for them, you don't get offended by their behavior because you recognize that their behavior has everything to do with them and nothing to do with you. That is what I would do in PMDD in my follicular phase. So I would not get offended by the criticism, by the hurtful words. I would be like, oh, they're stressed. That's why they're talking to me like that. Or, oh, they're overwhelmed. That's why they're talking to me like that. Like, it's not a matter of me not doing anything, me failing to do anything. It's a matter of they have something going on. And I think when you get to that point where you're so self-aware of of your value, and so whatever your person is saying to you, when you become self-aware of what you're doing, and then also your self-worth, your confidence. This is why I do my PMDD Partners morning routine. It gives me confidence to feel good about myself. I don't think I would have it. And that's why I always talk about my morning routine, because I don't think I would have the level of confidence that I have if it wasn't for my morning routine. And if that's something that you're like, what is your PMDD Partners morning routine? I know I mentioned it in previous episodes, but I also know I have a lot of new listeners. So, number one, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you need to, because on Instagram, I vlog every single day, my symptoms, my morning routine, all the things. So if you're not following me there, make sure you follow me there. But yeah, it really, really does mess with you. And so the next thing is during PMDD episodes, you know, your feelings of insecurity about yourself, which is why I have to do something to build my confidence every day, it's going to increase. And I don't care if you're the most confident person in the world and all the things. When you get into PMDD, there's this level of doubt, of feeling like you're not good enough, of feeling like you should be doing more, of feeling like maybe you could do more. Like that's absolutely going to be there. And so my, journey with that is not to erase it. My journey with a lot of the symptoms that we have in the PMDD, most symptoms, actually all of the symptoms that we have, I'm not looking to get rid of them. I'm not looking to take a pill or go on a journey or whatever to like get rid of PMDD. My sole job is to manage it. I am understanding that I'm sitting in this, right? I'm sitting in this space of having premenstrual dysphoric disorder because what I feel like happens is when you get into the mode of trying to cure it once and for all, like cure or incurable disorder, then when every single month you try something new or you do something new or you whatever and it doesn't work, you end up feeling worse about yourself. And I've been in that cycle where I've been like, I've seen it work for other people, but it's not working for me. Like, so I don't even look to get rid of it. I just look on ways to manage it, holistic ways to manage it. And that's just my journey. Whatever everybody has to do to lessen their suffering, I'm all for it. I do believe everybody has an individual journey, but number one, I do think that, and I'm not just saying this because I am a counselor, but I do think that everyone who has PMDD needs to be treated. And by treated, I mean cognitively. I don't mean treated with a medication. I mean treated with, you need to get it out. And what I mean by get it out is when you're having these cognitive distortions in your brain, you need to be able to process it with someone. And on a weekly basis, at least when you are, I would say, because I meet with most of my clients on a weekly basis, and I don't like to skip the follicular things, although I do notice that clients strategically have things to do. During the follicular days. And I'm all for it. If you want to reschedule a session because you're in your follicular days and you're feeling good and you don't want to talk about PMDD, that's fine. But what I don't want you to do is skip months, skip weeks of having the sessions because by the time you come back, everything that you've missed out, like everything that you've been going through that you haven't been processing, is going to be sitting there waiting for you. And it's way harder to dig yourself out of a mess from 1 month than it is 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And a lot of you I know have a lot of past trauma. And a lot of that past trauma has come from maybe when you first found out you had PMDD, before you knew you had PMDD. And there's all these fights and arguments that you went through and you haven't ever actually processed them. You just been continuing on like nothing happened. And guess what? Something happened. And until you reveal it, I always say you cannot heal what you don't reveal. And you're not meant to do it alone. You're not meant to do it yourself. And that's why I have my PMDD relationship reset sessions that are available on my website, because it's allowing you to reset your relationship to, okay, we went through all of this, or I'm going through all of this right now. We need a reset, because if we continue going in the direction we're going, we're not only hurting ourselves, we're hurting our partners. And you have to live with that. And you have to live with that guilt. And, when someone says, like, oh, my poor partner, I hear that all the time. Like when I do posts on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, YouTube, and they're like, oh, my poor partner, they have to deal with so much. Okay. And then what? They have to deal with so much. And then what? Are you helping? Like, that's why I created this program that I have coming out in November, is that I don't want it to be like, because I feel like us as PMDD sufferers, we understand that it's a lot for the partners. And so for all my partners that are listening, I hear you, I see you, I know the depths of your pain, and I know that it is just as severe as, the ones that suffer with PMDD. I just recently did a podcast with Chris. I don't know if I'm going to release it on here or we're doing a separate podcast, but he was talking about all of the physical and emotional. He's a partner of someone who's suffering with PMDD. He was talking about all of the physical and emotional symptoms that he had that were lingering even after they broke up because of the stress that he was dealing with within his relationship with someone who suffered with PMDD because she wasn't getting treatment. And so the bulk of his suffering was because she wasn't getting treatment. He knew what she had, she knew what she had, but she chose to leave it untreated. And whenever I say untreated, again, that means you're not getting counseling sessions, you're not rewiring your PMDD brain, you're not in any program, you're just winging it. And when you're winging it, you're leaving your relationship out there. And, what you invest in is what you value. If something was going on, let me put it like this. And this is what I like to think about when it comes to all aspects of my life, because I have mentors, honestly, for every area of my life that I actually care about. I have a mentor for my business, In Love with PMDD. I have mentors or coaches, actually coaches for, my physical activity, for my body, for my nutrition. I don't listen, I'm not going to count macros. I'm not going to portion out anything. I'm not going to create workouts. That's not my forte. Do I love working out? Yes. Do I love cooking? Yes. But when it comes to, I have a desired result, meaning I'm most at peace when my body looks and feels a certain way, then I am going to get, I am going to get a person that's going to help me. I need a mentor that's going to be there. And so when I'm telling you, that was my dog Leo, by the way, when I'm telling you to have a person that is there that is helping you. It's not because I'm saying it and I don't do it. For every area of my life that I care about, I have a person there that's mentoring me. And there's so much power in having a mentor that's going to guide you because that mentor has likely gone through a lot. And I've gone through a lot. Do I want you to have to go through as many breakups as I've been through, as many lonely nights as I've been through, where I've sat there and suffered because there wasn't anyone that I can talk to that really understood my PMDD symptoms? Like, do I want you to go through that same process? No. And so that's the benefit of having a mentor that's saying, I don't want you to go through what I went through. I'm going to teach you the lessons. I'm going to teach you the tools for exactly what you're going through in this specific area. Whenever I talk about PMDD, I'm very specific because I have a lot of colleagues within the PMDD community that do, I had Amy on the podcast before, and she's really into breath work and yoga and somatic healing and all of these things. And do I love those things? Yes. Do they work? Yes. Am I specializing in them? Absolutely not. Like, I don't proclaim to do anything other than relationships and PMDD and trauma. That is my, experience level. So when it comes to when okay, what do when people always DM me and was like, what do you do for your symptoms? And what do I do for my symptoms? And I always say, what are the symptoms that you're suffering with the most? And if you're suffering with PMDD rage, if you're suffering with intrusive thoughts, if you're suffering with the attachment styles, meaning you want space and your partner, wants to be closer and you're not getting those needs met. If those are your things, if those are your areas that you're suffering with the most when it comes to PMDD, that's why I'm here. And so what I want to let you know is when you go into PMDD, those feelings of insecurity are going to increase. You may be feeling like, oh, like, I don't know if they're attracted to me. I don't know if I'm lovable. I don't know if I'm worthy of them. And this can make you feel and believe that your partner doesn't truly love you or appreciate you. You can start to think they're not attracted to me. They don't love me. They don't appreciate me. So these insecurities are going to make it hard for you to feel compatible when you doubt your partner's affection, meaning even if they do something, you're consistently doubting it. Oh, they gave you a hug. They didn't really want to give me a hug. That they just gave me a hug because of this, because of that. Like, you're making excuses for why the things that they are doing are not good enough for you. And so what it also does is it creates a false sense of disconnection. So PMDD can create feelings of like emotional distance from your partner. You may feel distant from them, even if you're doing the same routine. You just don't feel as close to them. You don't feel as emotionally connected. And what happens during that time is you start to feel like they don't understand you. So then you're going to be like, oh, we're drifting apart and we're not compatible. And you're not even recognizing that this is temporary. Things in PMDD feel real and permanent. It feels like you're not going anywhere, like you're just unpacking your bags. It's kind of like going on a trip. PMDD is like going on a trip. And you know how there's two types of people. Oh my gosh, there's two types of people when they go on a trip and they go into the hotels. You know how the hotels have all of those, drawers for your clothes. So like there's some people that actually use those drawers. I never use the drawers. And so I'm always shocked when I see people actually unpack and put their clothes in the drawers. Like I live out of a suitcase, but I remember my ex was just like, hi, I can't believe you're living out of a suitcase. Like, so he would literally get to the hotel and first thing he would do is hang his clothes up in the closet and put his clothes in, the drawer. And I'm like, we're only going to be here for 3 days. Like, what are you doing? But PMDD will make you feel like you're not going anywhere anytime soon. And this is your permanent destination. So if things aren't feeling connected right now, then you're never going to feel connected. And then you start magnifying the differences that you have with your partner because PMDD can make you very hyper aware of the differences between you and your partner. Things like you have different interests. You like to go out, they like to stay in, or communication styles. They don't want to talk all the time, or maybe they just want to come home and they're not very talkative. And then you take that as, oh, because they're not talkative, like there's something wrong. Like because they're shutting down, there's something wrong. So you're constantly like, oh, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? When maybe in PMDD, they're just not as talkative. But you're like, oh, we're not compatible because, we're both not talkative. Well, here's the thing, opposites attract. So when it comes to you feeling like you and your PMDD partner are not compatible, you're not going to mirror each other. Otherwise, you would just be with someone exactly like you and you still wouldn't be happy. And so I want you to really recognize the next thing is it, PMDD, it intensifies the fear of being abandoned or rejected by your partner, which is huge. I know it's huge because I know what it feels like to be abandoned and rejected. Cue my childhood trauma. For those new listeners or those who haven't, I know a lot of you are actually going backwards on my podcast, meaning you found me recently and now you're just going back to like the hundreds of episodes that I have. But for if you haven't gotten to one yet, I have childhood trauma. I was in foster care. I was adopted at the age of 5. Both of my parents, my biological parents, abandoned me. Then I got adopted, and then I was put into a family that further abused me until I finally left at 17. So the bulk of my childhood is filled with childhood trauma. And so fear of rejection and abandonment is like, of course, I have that. Like, even after all of the work that I have to be with a partner that just doesn't trigger that because that's a dark place. It's not a good place for me to be because it takes me back to that place. And I feel like when you've suffered with PMDD or you suffer with childhood trauma or PTSD or any other disorder that you may have for a long period of time, it's very daunting to see a glimpse of that happening in your relationship because you feel like, I don't want to go back there. I can never go back there. Like this cannot happen. And so the next thing is you'll have this perception of the lack of support, which is what everybody says. My partner doesn't support me. My partner's not a supportive PMDD partner. PMDD is going to convince you that they don't really care about you, that they aren't doing enough to help you, that they could be doing more, that the things that they're doing it not because they want to, but because they have to. And if they have to, then you want to let them go because the ego is saying, oh, I could do bad all by myself. Like, I don't need you here. That's the ego speaking, by the way. So this perception can lead to feelings of resentment. It makes you feel like you're alone in the relationship. And then you're like, oh, we're not compatible. We're not compatible because you're not supportive. You don't understand what I'm going through. And I'm going to be going through this for a while. So we should just break up. And the last way that PMDD can convince you that you're incompatible is these lovely, impulsive breakup urges. So PMDD is going to urge you. When I say urge is a sense of rushing, a sense of I need to make a decision right now, which you don't need to make a decision right now. So whenever PMDD is rushing you to make a decision in your brain cognitively, I want you to just write it on a piece of paper, ball it up, throw it away. No, 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 no. You do not have to make any decisions while you're in PMDD. Whatever it is that's going on, it can wait until you get into your follicular days, or maybe hand it over to your partner and say, I can't deal with this right now. You're going to need to make this decision. Because those urges to break up are driven by intense emotions and distorted thinking and convincing you. Because the thing about PMDD is, it can't take you out, so it's going to wear you out. It physically, all of the power is in the brain. I promise you, the bulk of the issues that you're having with your relationship is because of the thoughts that are going on in your mind and the fact that PMDD is able to distort those thoughts. So it's leading you to that place of hopelessness because you're feeling like, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just, break up is the only solution. Like this is where you feel like you're backed in a corner. I can't keep doing this every single month. They're not getting it. So you feel like the best thing you can do is break up. This is why I have my private sessions. This is why I have the program that I have coming out in November for partners, is because I don't want you to be in that place where it's kind of like the only thing that I can do is break up. But what I want to let you know about feeling like you're not compatible with your partner is you can literally miss the right person for the wrong reason. You can miss the right person, meaning the right partner, because you're in your luteal phase. And I found this out when dating. There have been times where I'm like, oh no, this is not the one for me. And I'm in my freaking luteal phase. Like I'm not, mm-mm. Like there's even times where I've kind of like reduced communication, but I've kind of kept people around to see if I still like if I feel like I needed to cut them off, right, or it's not a good match or whatever. Whatever I felt, I would be like, let me just wait until I get in my follicular days and see how I feel. Because PMDD is absolutely the master of lies and cognitive distortion, which means it's taking your thoughts and turning them into their desired result. What did I tell you at the beginning? PMDD wants you to break up. So it's going to take hold of anything that your partner has said and done and turn it into a reason to break up. So the next episode, I'm going to be talking all about, what makes a compatible PMDD partner. But for right now, I want you to really understand that number one, you're not alone. And there's hundreds of thousands of PMDD sufferers that are feeling the same way. I'm not compatible with my partner. And that is absolutely not true. Now, and I always preface this because I know a lot of times I get a lot of feedback, especially TikToks. Shout out to TikTok because you're very responsive. And it's like, oh, but my partner's toxic, so we're not compatible. That's why listen. I have this banner. I need to like put it up. If you are with a narcissist, a manipulator, if you're with someone toxic, if you're with an abuser, I'm not talking to you. I'm not telling you that you should stay with an abusive, toxic, manipulating narcissist. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're with a good PMDD partner where they just don't know what to do, hence the program that I'm releasing in November, which is basically from all of my clients that are like, I know that I'm not, they'll even say to me, because I have private sessions with them that are not with their partners. They'll say, I know I'm not, supporting them the way that they need. I just need to know how to do it. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because I just don't know. And the thing is, no one knew. Like no one handed someone the rule book. It's like, oh, you're with someone that has PMDD. Here's the rule book. That's why I'm creating it. For partners. And then the next one I'll do is for the PMDD sufferers, but there's so many ways to manage your symptoms in PMDD based off of these things that I'm working on it. I'm working on it, but I saw a really big need with the partners because like I said, I do it individually. If you're my private client, you get the tools, but I really wanted to be able to offer that to all of you. So next episode is going to be on what makes you compatible with a PMDD partner. So you are not going to want to miss this one. Until next time, we got this. Love you. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.